Hello, my name is Toby Fildes, Managing Editor of GlobalCapital, and I'm here to tell you about our forthcoming Euromoney ECBC Covered Bond Congress, which is taking place in virtual format on our digital platform on September the 9th and 10th. We should, of course, be meeting in Barcelona this September, but the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the world as we know it, and so we've had to adapt and change our plans for our annual September gatherings. In these extraordinary times, it has never been more important for the global covered bond community to get together, to connect, to share ideas, and to do business. The Euromoney ECBC Virtual Covered Bond Congress 2020 will allow us to do just that. To talk about what's on our agenda, I'm very pleased to say, but I'm joined by my colleague, Richard Kemmish. Hello, Richard. Richard, let's start by talking about the state of the market. How do you see the market right now?
Clearly, the market for new issues and for secondary is extremely good at the moment. We've always known that covered bonds are great in a crisis. They're the one funding tool which stays open for banks when other funding tools are closed. And we're also on the back of a very long bull run on the back of a lot of buying by the ECB as part of their quantitative easing program. But I think the real question that I want to hear people's opinions at this event is whether that's going to continue. The ECB purchase program is approaching saturation. Quite simply, there are limits to how far it can go. Is it, as part of the different agenda, going to start moving towards buying other instruments, securitizations or senior debt, for example? And will that change its participation in the covered bond market? And at the same time, we've got big changes going on, I think, as a result of this crisis to the overall funding needs of banks. In the short term, clearly emergency funding facilities such as the TLTRO are going to be important. But what is the signal effect of those? Are banks really going to take them up? How are they going to exit them? And I've been hearing from some people there are some big changes going on for depositor behaviour. That's going to fundamentally change the amount of money that banks need to take from the market at the same time that the ECB is changing the amount of demand for bonds. So it's a great picture at the moment, but a very uncertain one over the next 12 to 18 months, I'd say.
Okay, so in normal years, the implementation of the Covered Bond Directive would surely be a key topic, perhaps the main topic of the conference, but thanks to the coronavirus, that perhaps might have been pushed down the pecking order. But it's still an important issue, isn't it?
It is vitally important. We don't know yet. Hopefully we're going to find out, but at the moment we don't know whether the implementation deadlines are going to be kept in place. If they are, it's making it much more difficult to create a common ground for the transposition into national laws. That's still a very important topic that industry is working on. But I think equally importantly, there's a new regulatory agenda coming on. The Commission fundamentally believes never waste a good crisis. I think that as a consequence of this crisis, we're going to see some shifts in the agenda going forward. There are going to be things like new asset classes using covered bond technology, an emphasis on new countries adopting covered bonds with all of the implications of that, and perhaps new packages addressing the securitization market, which clearly is going to have a very important role to play. Unlike in the previous crisis, perhaps there's been no blame attached to the securitization market. And there's much more emphasis on growth rather than stability, and perhaps securitization is going to get more of the more love from Brussels as a consequence of all this. So yes, directive is still important, but there's a much bigger change in the regulatory environment.
Okay, and is credit still an issue?
Well, I think fundamentally we've always had this argument about whether covered bonds are a rates or a credit instrument. Now, at the moment, we're coping with completely uncharted territory with these payment holidays, and they're very diverse and we don't really know the implications of it. The rating agencies have done a great job in the short term in explaining the impact on cover pools and on ratings, but the longer term we really don't know about. I think some of the things which are changing are the underlying credit of the governments. Clearly everything that's going on is making government credit, which is always a benchmark for covered bond credit, a lot more uncertain, whether debt is being mutualized or not, whether fiscal deficits are going through the roof, is fundamentally changing the credit of governments and therefore of the relationship with covered bonds. We don't know what the long-term implication of payment holidays on mortgages is going to be. You can't uninvent this concept. Is it going to continue for 3 months, for 6 months? Is it going to come back every time we have a second wave or another type of problem? We simply don't know that. And I think clearly, thinking really blue sky here, there's some quite big societal changes going on. We already had a shift in a lot of public policy away from the rights of the banks and towards the rights of the mortgage borrowers. Will we see more walk-away mortgages? Will we see more rent controls or general shift towards debtor rights as a result of what's been going on? We simply don't know, but I think it's going to be crucial to the understanding the credit of cover pools going forward.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for watching, tuning in and listening. We very much look forward to welcoming you all to our forthcoming Covered Bond Virtual Congress in association with the European Covered Bond Council. The dates are September the 9th and 10th, with panels and keynotes timed at various times of the day to encourage participation from Asia and the Americas, as well as Europe, of course. And you can register your interest on our website, where you can also see our full agenda. So thanks very much.